Hey everybody, this is Lorelia. Welcome to another episode of the Never Lose a Deal podcast. If you are a real estate investor, you want to tune into this podcast, or you may be watching on YouTube. If you are looking to explore different financing opportunities that can help you expand your real estate portfolio. So, the topic today, the economic reset for real estate investors. As I film this podcast, we are currently in the month of February 2025. And so we are not actually a month in since we have a new USA president, but I wanted to kind of give my take on things that are going to reset because primarily I do think we are in an economic reset. I truly do believe that, and I've talked about it on other podcast episodes, your real estate buy box or what have you. But when it comes to financing, I want to really give my opinion and give my um, outlook on where I think things are going to go um, in the future. And don't claim to be no top economist, but I do speak from a place of experience. Um, this is not my first time in the rodeo. Um, I've dealt with recessions in the past, um, and recessions that primarily had to do in real estate. And I'll say it once and I'll say it again. In 2008, when we dealt with one of the biggest real estate um, fiascos that happened here in the US, banks failing or what have you, I ran to real estate, whereas others ran away from real estate. And I say that to say that in every market, there are going to be opportunities. And so today, I want to talk about the winners. And when I use the word winners, I don't mean a noun, meaning a person, a person being a winner. I'm talking about winners as in a verb, meaning that the actions that you are going to take are going to allow you to win during this economic reset. Because we have two types of people, and this is, whether you are a real estate investor, um, or even if you're a real estate agent, and I know I'm on the financing side, there are some people who have literally walked away from the industry. They have tucked their heads in the ground. And then there are some people who are just sitting on the sidelines waiting for opportunities. And so those are the individuals that I am talking to today. So I want to talk about one of the things that those who are looking to win during this economic reset are going to be people who are not sensitive to the cost of capital. Here on the Never Lose a Deal podcast, I talk a lot about creative financing. And let me just say this: when it comes to creative financing, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. There is not no one way to do it. So anyone who is telling you that creative financing is this and it's just one thing, um, they're are probably talking to a person who doesn't have a lot of experience. But for those who are experienced and those who listen to this podcast, that they know that creative financing can look like a lot of things. And so in this current market, I truly believe that traditional banks are going to change the way that they provide financing. And so, if you're a real estate investor, there are a lot of things in the real estate landscape when it comes to, for example, fix and flips and multifamilies is very odd for an investor. And those are the individuals I'm talking to when as I speak on this podcast. Um, it is very odd for those individuals to go to a traditional lender. And with that being said, um, the alternative lending space, primarily asset based lending, lending that is based on the asset, hence real estate. There are a lot of opportunities. Lenders are still lending. Every week there's a lenders call that I, as someone who have access to lenders, and I'm part of, where lenders are giving their scope of what economically the way they are lending. And so when I say cost of capital, the ones that are going to win in the next couple of years, cost of capital being investors who are not sensitive to it. And when I say sensitive, last week I posted, I don't know, I posted on a few social media sites that I have, and I talked about leverage ROI. And that's a calculation that I know that I take clients through that work with me as part of a framework of how I help investors get financing. But pretty much leverage ROI is really a calculation for an investor to look at, for how much they have leveraged themselves versus how much return on investment they are looking to capture. And so the investors who are not sensitive to cost of capital, those who they're not using their last, meaning I if it, I have to get this financing. If I don't, I'm going to lose my shirt. Those individuals are possibly going to lose out. But those who are open to looking at creative ways to do things, where different forms of asset based lending comes in, because this is what I know: experienced investors know that they are not trying to be a jack of all trades, and they understand the importance of locking in with a professional who has their radar on financing on a daily basis. Because any investor who is successful with whatever it is they're doing, whether it's fixing flips or buying, accumulating properties for their portfolio, for whether it's multifamilies or buying wholes, they're not sitting around studying the financing and housing trends to be able to get access to capital. They're going to lean on the the professionals who are out there, someone similar to myself, who can assist them with making those decisions, because opportunities are going to come down the line. I'm very transparent, and I know I'm going to share this with my email communication list. And if you're not part of my email communication list, make sure you go to podcast.com, or www.neverloseadeal.com. And there I share off market deals that I'm currently working on, along with, creative financing strategies to be able to capture those deals. And so last week, I had an asset manager reach out to me, letting me know that they had assets that they were looking to sell, on their books. They're looking to sell. Direct communication, no middle person, and that just shows me that opportunities are out there. So I say this to people in this economic cycle, as we go through this economic reset, who you listen to matters for your own personal economy. I'm talking about your personal economy, meaning, how does it personally affect you? How will it personally affect your family? How does it even personally affect those who you work with? I think I said on the last podcast episode, recently went to a real estate event where, local investors in my market, because with everything going on in this country, like I said, we're not even a month in since the new administration has come in. But in certain cities, ICE has been heavily involved in those cities. How will that affect the real estate market? And, there are investors that I have talked to who they are positioning themselves to be able to pivot, because when you are heavily invested in areas where there is a high activity of ICE presence, there is going to be a trickle effect, because those individuals are probably too scared to go to work. And if they're day workers and they don't go to work, or whether they get paid by the day or the week, now they may not be able to pay their rent. Everything is a domino effect. There are investors right now who are, that I know personally, who are positioning themselves to be able to pivot in the event that things change. Because the one thing that I brought up to them is that the demographics of a particular area is going to take time to change. So there are cities, pockets and cities here in New Jersey, of course, in your state, you may have those demographics too, where at one time the demographics may have been this, but now the demographics have become where they're, immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal, I'm not here to judge, where they're heavily involved in that community. How will that affect your business? So those are things that investors are looking at. And so going back to cost of capital, the investors who will win are those who are not sensitive to it. Because if you are that investor and you're thinking, and this is what I've told investors that with the lenders I'm working with, if you're doing fix and flips, experience matters. Experience matters. If you know another investor who is heavily involved in the industry, they have relationships, those are the people that you need to lock in with, because it doesn't matter that you have, I know people say, oh, well, I have the money, this, that, and the other. Yes, money plays a part. Capitalization does play a part. But lenders are not going to let you play monopoly with their money, meaning you have never did a deal. 2 weeks ago, I had someone who recommended me. I had a conversation with a person, and they were looking to do new construction. When I asked a few questions, I can clearly see that the person really didn't have the experience. And so, I'm not going to lead a person on to have them to think that they're going to be able to obtain something that I know they're not going to be able to obtain. And so I was honest with them. You're going to need a little experience. Now, the good thing was that the person who introduced me to that individual had said, because the question that the investor brought up was, what does it look like for me to show I have experience? So if a person, with me just asking a few questions, I can tell that that person didn't have the experience. Well, Lorelia, one may say, well, Lorelia, who are you to say? You're not the lender. You're just working with the lender. Who are you to say the person didn't have experience? Well, I'm going to give you an example of that. The question was asked, well, how do I show experience? That's oxymoronic. You can't say you have experience, but then in another breath, you're asking, what does experience look like? And so the person who had recommended me to the investor has said, hey, I have something that I can share with you to show you how you're going to put your body of work together. Because at the end of the day, do you really think that a lender is just going to take for face value you just saying you have experience? Like, I mean, of course, that's easy to falsify. But if you say you have the experience that you have, then things are going to be documented. There are going to be things that public records, there's a lot of sources to show that you have experience. So I say that to say, Going back to cost of capital, you not being sensitive. Gone are the days of the investor who thinks they're going to just get, they just need just a little 20%, just this much, and the lender's going to put in, most asset-based lenders who lend on new construction, they do 100% construction. But of course there's a portion that you have to bring in based on what it's going to cost to be able to build a home, because they're looking for you to have skin in the game. They're maybe looking for you to have reserves put away as well. That can look different for a person who knows someone who has experience. Like I say, it's 100 ways to skin a cat. So what I'm sharing is just based on my experience. Now it can look different for someone who is partnering with someone who has relationships with lenders and has the experience. So that's number one, the economic reset. Who are some of the winners? Once again, cost of capital. Investors who are not sensitive to cost of capital. I just went over that. You see me looking down because I want to make sure I stay on task. The ability, if you're doing fix and flips, the ability to underwrite your own deals. What does that mean? Going back to the example of the person, investor who was looking to do new construction, and once again, just normal questions that you ask. I can tell the person didn't underwrite their own deal. The only thing, if you are an investor who plans to leverage some form of capital from a asset-based lender, hard money lender, or what have you, even if you're a private lender, because I can imagine that some private lenders may want to ask a few questions. How are you not running the numbers to your deal? Do you literally think that a lender is going to sit down and run your numbers? That is why, it is very common for any mortgage professional, asset based lender, mortgage lender to have a website that they can tell a client to go to, or a possible client, where they can just run numbers. That's something that a person should be doing themselves. So once again, the winners are going to know how to underwrite their own deals. They're going to know how to do that. They're not going to just wait for a lender to run their numbers. And I've said this before. You can always tell the investor who doesn't have that much experience when they're talking surface conversations. What is the interest rate? Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, interest rates can be negotiated. I tell people all the time, if I am interested in getting your business, because of course I'm always looking to build new relationships, I will do a flat fee on origination. I will literally tell you, okay, this is going to be the cost of doing the loan. And this is what the lender is going to look for, and this is what I'm going to look for. So all those things can be negotiated. There's not no one way to do things. Once again, speaking for myself, I tell people all the time, for a fix and flip or DSCR, I can get you a term letter in 15 minutes. We don't have to, if you have the pertinent information that is what is needed for you to do the deal, I can get you that term letter. So going back to number two, underwriting your own deals as an investor, investors who will win during this economic reset are those who know how to underwrite their own deals. Point blank, no way around it. Now, this is what I will say. There's always room for growth. There's always room to be able to sharpen your skill set. So I know I'm looking to do a how to underwrite your own deal, real estate deal. I'm looking to do a workshop. I know I'm going to do it live. Of course, it's going to be here in New Jersey, but I may do one online, and I have to see. If I do decide to do the one online, there is going to be requirements. It's not for information seekers. If you're looking to just get information, it's not going to be for you. It's going to be for investors who really want to be able to get the information and implement, because it's for implementers. It's not for information seekers. So I tell people all the time, I'm looking to do this workshop, because as we go through this economic reset, it's good to be able to see how other professionals in the lending space can possibly assist you with doing more deals in the future. And that leads me to my third point, and that is who is part of your advisory team. That is an important part. Yes, you're going to, of course, have an attorney. You definitely want to have an accountant. But in the financing piece, who's part of your power team? Who's part of your advisory team? Because going back to what I originally said in the first point when I talked about cost of capital, successful investors like yourself, they're not sitting around studying the different financing opportunities that are out there in the lending space. And even if they are, they're not working in the lending space with relationships with lenders directly to be able to get the deal done. And so you want to make sure as we go through this economic reset, who's part of your success team? Who is it? You definitely want to have a financing professional on there. And so I tell people all the time, it is nothing wrong. I get the whole point of loyalty. But the problem that I have, because I've seen this before, that people will praise, oh, I love my lender. I love my lender. That's great. That's great. You love you love your loan advisor. That's great. That's great. Then why are you going around seeking information from other individuals? Because I'm telling people, if you come to me seeking advice, I'm looking to do business with you. I'm not looking to be an information source. That's why I do these podcasts or what have you. But if you think that we're just going to sit down and I'm going to do a deep dive on your deals, go to this lender, your loan advisor that you love so much. Go to them, because my time is very important. So if you're looking to possibly work together, yes, we can do those things. Like I tell people all the time, a term sheet, me to get a term sheet out to you, that takes no time, 15 to 20 minutes. But me getting a term sheet out to you, a lot of times I don't need to talk to the person. Information is sent by email. The stuff is submitted back to me. It's very automated. Boom, voila. You can see everything. What's the cost of the loan and everything. I don't need to really talk to a person. And if I do, it is just questions on the deal. I'm not doing any deep dives. I'm not looking at no spreadsheets. I'm not assisting no one with how to underwrite their own deals. It's just a surface conversation. And for those who say, "Oh, but I know," and loan advisors who do that, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to definitely agree. You probably have a relationship with them. They're not someone that you just know cold, and they're sitting there doing a very deep dive with you. And like I said, I'm not talking surface talk. Surface talk is about your deal, pertinent information to be able to get a term sheet. But I'm talking real sustainable. What's your plans? What do you want to do in the future? That's why when I talked about earlier, the leverage return, ROI, return on investment. That's not a conversation that I have with every investor, because that's a conversation for investors who really want to go deep, because it's part of a framework that I share with clients. So that's much of a deeper conversation, what goes outside of the scope with assisting investors with getting a loan. So I say all that to say the economic reset of 2025 for real estate is here. I talked about those who are going to win. And when I talk about winners, I'm not talking about winners as in a noun. I'm talking about winners as a verb, meaning the actions. It's going to be, just do a recap, it's going to be those who are not sensitive investors, who are not sensitive to the cost of capital. Number two, those who know how to underwrite their own deals. And then number three, those who they have an advisory team, and one of the main individuals who are part of that team is a financing professional. And so there you have it. Like I said, I mentioned on this podcast, yes, I am looking to do how to underwrite your own deals for investors who are looking to implement. It's not an information session. It's not for how to get more information. It's for the investor who wants to implement, meaning they have deals that they are currently looking at, or that they're looking to capitalize on, and they want to know the different creative ways that they can possibly be able to do those deals. And of course, there's going to be a requirement that is going to have to be met, and it's going to have to be shown that you meet that requirement. Because it's going to be very small knit, because I want to be able to really examine and look at what it is you're currently working on and what you have worked on in the past. So it is not for looky loos, and it's not for information seekers. Like I said, it's for executors. You're looking to take the information and boom, execute. So whether you execute now on 30 days, you want to at least be able to implement it in the next 60. And because things are changing all the time, so it's not something you get some information now and look to implement it in 9 months, because in 9 months a lot can change, and as we can see, things are changing every day. Because like I said, going back to with the ICE situation, and investors who are saying that they're looking to possibly pivot because what could be the result, you know people are fearful of going to work. Now you don't go to work, you don't get no money, you may not going to pay the rent. It's all it's a trickle effect. And so I say that to say, um, stay tuned, stay locked into the Never Lose a Deal podcast to learn more about me and this podcast. Just go to the website, www.neverloseadealpodcast.com. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, all my links will be below this video. And if you are listening on Spotify, Spotify, but also it is also being broadcast to all the other podcast syndication distribution sites, Apple, iHeartMedia, or iHeartRadio, what have you. So once again, this is